Hey everybody, welcome back to my lives. I came on today because I want to talk about the biggest mistakes I made when I was determining my target audience. And I know that if I made these mistakes, other people have made these mistakes as well. And I thought I would kind of talk about them here on this live because why not give people the benefit of your experience, right? So here they are. One of the biggest mistakes that I made when I was determining my target audience was I was so concerned with what other people could afford instead of being concerned with the value I was bringing to the table. Where this got me was it got me in a place where I was really talking to the wrong people, regardless of the fact that I really wanted to help and serve. And I really wanted to give people the benefit of my knowledge and help them the way I didn't feel I was ever helped when I started my business. I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. You start your business and you have all these ideas and you want to kind of hit the ground running, but there are things that you don't know. But at the same time, you don't have the money to pay people for their services. So some of you may start off doing, a bartering, some sort of a situation like that, where you do something for someone and then they do something for you in return instead of exchanging money. And that works for a little bit, but typically when you have people who are in that same boat with you, what happens is they're learning, they're growing, so they can't offer you as much information as you might need. They might be able to help you with a service. Let's say if you need somebody to, do some copywriting for you or something. And in return, you're going to, do something for them. That's one thing. But if you need help with like optimizing your website or building a website or something like that, maybe if you're bartering with people, they're on the same playing field with you. So they don't really have as much experience as you would want them to. So you're not getting the level of expertise that you would want because you're both starting out. Whereas if you could afford to pay that person that charges $1,500 to do your website, you would, and you would get a $1,500 website, right? So my issue when I first started, when I was determining my target audience, was I wanted to help those people who were in similar situations that I have been in the past, where I really didn't want to have to charge them a ton of money. Sorry about that. I didn't want to have to charge them a ton of money. I wanted to be able to help them. And so in return, I was talking to the wrong people, because what I offer is really a foundational method to marketing and developing a personal brand and then leveraging that personal brand. And a lot of times that is not where my audience that I wanted to serve is in a place they can hear it and understand the value of that. So then I couldn't get people to pay for what it was I was trying to give them, because again, they're trying to make their money like this back. And what I was offering them was a slower, more organic approach to that. And they like, I can't do that right now because I got to make my money back. So I would say that one of the biggest mistakes that I made in determining my target audience early on was basing it on my concern for someone's ability to pay me for my services. Now, the next mistake that I made was not doing market research to clarify who those people should be. Now, I know that sounds strange as a marketer, oh my gosh, Andrea, you should have known better. And I did know better. But again, I was in that mindset where I really wanted to serve a group of people that I knew were disenfranchised in terms of they needed the help, but they couldn't afford the help. So because I knew so many people like that, and I was trying to help those people that I knew, and I was trying to target those people, I didn't really do what I should have done in terms of, like I said, the market research to clarify, do some testing, do some things. So I'm hoping that you have the benefit of this, because now with social media, when I first started my business, social media is not the same animal it is right now. Now you have the ability to go in and really talk to your audience, really get some clarity around what it is they're looking for, to understand what it is they're saying about that and how you can give them that back in your conversation so that their ears perk up when you're talking about it, so they know that you're there to help them. And you can do polls and you can do surveys. Email marketing is huge. So when I first started my business, that was not a thing really. So now there are ways to really tap into your audience or your desired audience in a very cost effective way. Like you can just poll people on Facebook, or you can, send out lead magnets and get people to join your email list, and you can talk directly to them in your email, and you can ask them questions about the things that they want and what they don't want. And so now it's a little bit easier. When I started out, it was like true market research and it wasn't quite as easy. But now, I mean, there is just no reason that you can't do your due diligence to really understand who your audience is, what they're saying around the challenge that you are solving for them, so that you can talk to them in their own words about what their issues are and then give them the solution. So I wish I would have done a better job at that. And then the last thing that was it's not the last thing, it's just the last thing I'm going to talk about today. That was a big mistake when I was trying to determine my target audience was I was basing the decision on who I wanted to help versus who needed my solution. So that's a little bit different. Like I really wanted to serve people. I really wanted to help them. And the people that I really wanted to serve needed my help, but they just weren't in a position to understand the value of what I was giving. So that's why being concerned with how much they could afford was an issue, because I was dumbing down. I shouldn't say dumbing down, but I was lowering the price of my value just to get people in the door. And that wasn't serving me, because even though I lowered the price and I may have gotten a client in that first mistake that I was talking about, they didn't stick around because they didn't understand the value. So that's why they weren't paying a lot of money. And then once I started to do a little market research and understanding and talking to the people and understanding what their true challenges were, then I was able to change the way I was doing business. But prior to all of that, this third mistake was that I was basing my decision to do business with those I wanted to do business with versus those that actually needed what I was giving. So I had to really think about, okay, how do I provide this content to people in a way that I'm reaching the right people? And that's when I created my quiz, the stages of entrepreneurship, because in that quiz, I'm actually asking people, I'm helping them to identify what stage of bossing they're in so that they'll know who they need to talk to, whether or not they're the right person, if they're saying the right words. And it sort of helps get them in the right space that they need to be in order to attract the people that they need to attract, engage them, and then subsequently convert them. So if you are anything like me, if any of these things rang a bell, if you are the type of person, you're just starting out and you're concerned with whether or not people can afford your services, that's not where you need to be. You need to know what your value is, understand that value, and then you need to go after those people who can appreciate that value. And that is a little bit scary, especially if you're starting out, because there is a little bit of imposter syndrome that happens. I still have imposter syndrome sometimes. And I think you just get it when you're leveling up your business, because you've been operating in a certain demographic for a long time. And then when you see a need to step up, you got to go into another group of people who may be a little bit further along in their business. Maybe they're a little bit more refined. They've got a revenue positive business. And so they've not had trouble getting business before. And so maybe what you're offering them is they're new to you, that mindset of business is new to you. So it's a little scary. So you might have a little bit of imposter syndrome there. I get it. But you can't concern yourself with that. You just have to know what your value is. You need to understand who is in a position to pay you for your value, and you can't be afraid to step out there, take the risk, and do your thing. Don't let imposter syndrome get in the way. If you've not done your market research, it is very easy to do it in these times where we have social media. We can get on there. It is going to take a little bit of time. It's going to be a little bit tedious if you don't want to do a lot of paid ads, paid, services, which I wouldn't recommend personally, because I believe that it's very easy to throw money at ads. But if you're not quite sure what your audience is saying around your subject matter and know the verbiage they're using, then it's going to be a little bit of a waste, in my opinion, to use those common words. Because I just had a conversation with someone today, and she did that. She did something in an ad situation or in promoting her business and using keywords, and she was not very specific with what her audience was saying. She was specific to the industry she was in, but not to her specific audience. And she ended up getting a ton of people that she didn't necessarily want. They were in her space, but not the audience that she wanted. So those keywords are very important and they will get the job done, but you have to know what keywords your audience is saying, and so that you can attract them with those words. So doing that market research is going to be very important. But again, it's important for you to know who you are and how you relate to your audience. And that's the biggest lesson here when it comes to targeting your audience. And that's kind of what I wanted to get to, is understanding what you're bringing to the table and knowing the journey it took you to find the solution, and then understanding who out there is on that same journey, and then going out there and starting to talk to them in a way that they give you information you need to then feed back to them in a way that's going to attract and engage them, and then ultimately convert them into a sale. That's how you should be doing your market research. And then not basing your decision about who you want to do business with on just who you want to do business with, instead of actually doing the work to understand who's having the problem that you have the solution to, what they're saying about the problem and their need for that solution, and then you formulating your marketing strategy, your brand message to actually speak that message that they want to hear so you can attract them. Now, I hope that helps. My mistakes, I'm sure other people are making mistakes, but I hope my solutions or my tips on overcoming these mistakes has been helpful to you in this live. That does it. I appreciate it if you were able to join. I hope it is helpful.